Alright, so now I have the MF-107, and I have to admit I was skeptical on whether or not I should get this particular Moogerfooger. I couldn't really, from the videos on YouTube, see the interest in it for myself. I anticipated it being used as a fourth oscillator, but didn't really find any videos showing it in a useful way, and mine's probably the same. Blah, 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 crappy, whatever, iPhone microphone, say what you will. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I bought the FreqBox. It has served already in one of my songs as a fourth oscillator in one of the productions, and you can kind of simulate with the other three oscillators on board the old school and tuning the MF-107 to a fourth note, you can simulate a 4-note 1 VCO per voice chord pretty effectively. So the question really is, after we've seen the other videos of the MF-102, the MF-103, and the MF-101, how is the tracking? Does it track well? So let me go ahead and just start with telling you how we've got this set up. We've got the waveform all the way at the triangle. We've got the frequency kind of dialed in exactly with one of the frequencies of VCO1 on the Voyager. And in the back, we basically have the oscillator out going to the external input of the Voyager, and then the CV out of the Voyager going to control the frequency of the oscillator and the MF-107. So what's the end result? Here is the note of just the MF-107. You can see it tracks pretty well. And then down at the low end. Now, one of the main differences that I found is in the two triangle wave shapes. Here is the wave shape, and I'll kind of put the phone close to the speaker if I can here to get the tone of the MF-107 oscillator. Now let me turn that off and turn the Voyager oscillator on. This is again the MF-107. And you can hear that apparently the MF-107 oscillator has a little bit more harmonics involved. Back to just the Voyager. And here's the MF-107. Okay, so how can you really use this? So let's just turn back on oscillator 1. And one thing that you will also notice is, if I can get in here, oscillator 1 is set to midnight as far as the volume level, and the MF-107 only has to be set to about 9:30, 10 o'clock here to have equal volume on the triangle wave shape through the external input compared to oscillator 1. So MF-107 can actually have a very loud output. You just have to dial it in to get it to fit in your mix. So here are the two VCOs together. Let's see, with that we get a little bit of high frequency separation there. Okay, let me lock that in. So essentially you can have a basically trackable, usable oscillator off of one whole set of keys here on the Voyager. You know, it takes a little bit more manual effort to dial in than, say, just flipping an octave switch, but you can get some cool 4-note tones. And what I'll do now is I'll dial in a chord and show you that. I have got all of the oscillators set up to emulate a particular key. Down on the Rhodes, I've got the chord. Same thing an octave higher. Alright, so what I did on the Voyager is have oscillator 1 set to E, oscillator 2 is set to G, and oscillator 3 is set to B. So I set the FreqBox as C. So what you'll get is, this is the normal oscillator 1 setting, and the whole chord happens, I'll bring this in all just by hitting C. So I bring in oscillator 2, which is set for E, oscillator 3, oscillator 1 is actually E. oscillator 2 is set for G, and then oscillator 3 is set for B once again. So here is essentially E and G. Bring in B. So this is a sound you'll find in like techno songs and kind of the Detroit techno vibe, some of the early club classics. Which is good, but here's what I'll add the fourth VCO, which is coming from the FreqBox. So this is the 3 oscillators as normal, and here's the fourth one. If I add just the fourth one by itself, they're all set to saw wave. You can change the wave shape over here on the FreqBox. So now we got all the VCOs in. We can add some filtering. All right, turn off the automatic gate there. So one of the things I really like to do is to get the modulation going on the LFO nice and slow. Turn this down. I'm going to turn the amount of the keyboard down, turn the release up on both of these VCAs, or envelope generators, excuse me. And I want this to hold for much longer than that. Turn the attack up a little bit. Get a really nice deep tone. So just to wrap up this review, there are a lot of people that are going to tell you that the Voyager Old School doesn't sound like a Mini Moog Model D. And you know, they're right. It does not sound like a Mini Moog Model D. However, to imply that this is not a valuable or a strong analog synth as a result of that is frankly ridiculous. The Voyager is an amazing synth. It does sound a little bit more clean and precise than a Mini Moog Model D. I think probably in 30 years it'll sound more like a Model D. Who knows? Either way, it's useful for me now. It doesn't require the maintenance of a typical Model D, and it's got a lot of benefits above that, including, in particular, the patchability and the kind of love you can create with the family of Moogerfoogers. So I highly recommend you pick one of these up, and especially in combination with the Moogerfoogers. I gotta say, I held out on the Ring Modulator for a long time, and probably the one pedal that adds the most to a Voyager is the Ring Modulator. You can do excellent tremolo effects, you can do all kinds of bell tones and things you could never do before with just the Voyager. So thanks again, Moog Music, for all your help and for these wonderful products. Catch you next time.